Baylor and Gonzaga were the only two teams in the top 5 that took care of business last week.
That doesn't mean they didn't move around, too.
The Bears 15-1 leapt over the Bulldogs and into the number 1 spot in the Associated Press men's college basketball poll on Monday, using wins over Iowa State and Oklahoma State to give the top 25 its 7th team on top this season. That matches the record set in 1983 for the most no-ones in the history of the poll, which dates to the 1948–49 season.
Gonzaga 20-1 was merely a victim of its conference schedule. The Bulldogs blew out Santa Clara and BYU, but just enough voters considered those wins to be less impressive than the Bears' perfect Big 12 start. Baylor received 33 first-place votes and had 1,591 points from the 65-member media panel, while Gonzaga received 31 first-place votes for 1,588 points.
"It takes a team to win," said Baylor coach Scott Drew, whose team also reached the top of the poll 2 years ago. "As a coach, you're just really proud when different people step up, especially guys that have been working hard."
The rest of the top 5 looks a whole lot different after Duke, Auburn and Butler all lost both of their games last week.
Kansas 14-3 rose 3 spots to number 3 after victories over Oklahoma and Texas, the latter requiring a big comeback in Austin. San Diego State 19-0 remained perfect with wins over Fresno State and Nevada, and Florida State 16-2 barged into the 5th spot after it beat reigning national champion Virginia and survived overtime to best Miami.
The Seminoles haven't lost since playing Indiana in the Big Ten ACC Challenge the first week of December.
Louisville, which tasted the top spot earlier this season, jumped 5 spots to 6th after beating Pittsburgh in overtime and handling the Blue Devils. Dayton was next, followed by Duke, Villanova and Seton Hall to round out the top 10.
Duke also lost to Clemson earlier in the week, sending coach Mike Krzyzewski's team tumbling 5 spots.
"We just have to get older," he said after the Blue Devils' 79–73 loss to the Cardinals on Saturday at Cameron Indoor Stadium. "I'm really up on my team. It's a long journey. I've never told you that we're great. It's a process for us, playing these two teams. Getting beat, we have to learn from it and move on. It's a long journey."
Krzyzewski's team wasn't alone in getting a tough lesson last week. 4th-ranked Auburn fell all the way to number 16 after losing a pair of blowouts to Alabama and Florida, and 5th-ranked Butler was bounced all the way to 13th after the Bulldogs followed up a loss to Seton Hall by getting soundly beaten by DePaul.
"It's the time of the year when we should be trying to elevate our play, and we're not," said Tigers coach Bruce Pearl, whose team had won its first 15 games. "Obviously, there's a pretty big price on our head being ranked 4th in the country. And so I think we have to respond to the step-up that we saw this week from both Alabama and Florida."
Here's a closer look at the other big news in another fresh top 25.
Rutgers on the rise.
The Scarlet Knights bounced back from a loss to Illinois by beating Indiana and Minnesota at home, running their record at the RAC to 13-0 this season, the best start in school history. That was enough to get Rutgers 14-4 into the poll at number 24 for the first time since the final poll of the 1978–79 season. And with Seton Hall at number 10, the state of New Jersey has 2 teams ranked for the first time since the Pirates were joined by Princeton in the last poll of the 1990–91 season.
Other newcomers.
Iowa, which has been in and out of the poll all season, made the biggest jump back in at number 19 after its win over then number 19 Michigan. The Hawkeyes were joined by No. 22 Arizona, which beat a ranked team in Colorado, and number 25 Houston, which romped through SMU, and then number 16 Wichita State last week.
On the way out.
The Shockers dropped all the way out after losing to Houston and Temple. The Wolverines also fell out, along with Big Ten rival Ohio State and Creighton, whose one-week stay ended with a loss early last week to Georgetown.
Buckeyes bummer.
No team has been falling as steadily as Ohio State, which was 9-0, was ranked in the top 5 and received first-place votes just 6 weeks ago. The Buckeyes have lost 6 of their last 9 games, and 5 of their last 6, to complete their tumble from the poll. Their lone victory in the last few weeks was against lowly Nebraska.